Okay, the meeting is started. You can start the meeting now, Brian.
Oh, okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us for our provider training. I have our agenda showing on the screen right now, and Dara is going to give us an overview of the plan for this meeting today.
Great. Thank you, Brian. Hi, everybody. If you don't know me or haven't met me, my name is Dara Johnson. I'm with Access. Excuse me, I help oversee one of the projects at Access here, the electronic visit verification, or EVV, along with my colleague Danielle Ashlock, and she's also on today's call to support with the Q&A session. Who you just heard was Brian from Health Tech Solutions. You'll hear from a number of folks from Health Tech today, or HTS as we refer to them, and they've been assisting us in building the aggregator for EVV internally here at Access. So I'm just going to open up with a couple of remarks and comments, and hopefully some points to help you all channel your thought process and thinking and questions in today's training session. So a couple of things I want to just extend a thank you to all of you. One, for showing up today. And those of you who will be seeing the recording later, thank you for also participating in that way. Also want to express appreciation for you and being just responsive to communications and calls for action or calls to action that we've given specifically to provider agencies through this transition, and appreciate your attentiveness. And also want to thank you for your patience, both up to this point and moving forward. As we've all experienced in the delivery system over the years, patience is needed when we have anything that's new. And so just thank you for that, both in continuing patience as we work to support you with this transition. So a little bit about what we're calling EVV 2.0. So a little bit about why we did this change and built an aggregator in-house for EVV. Well, one thing is that we're working on modernizing what we call our Medicaid enterprise system here at Access. All Medicaid agencies have those systems, and we're doing a pretty big overhaul of our system over the next few years, and have most recently. And so this is just part of our project to enhance our in-house data systems that we have, as well as reporting. Oversight and management of EVV. Previously, we were having to kind of manage two arms of EVV, a system that we had with a vendor that some of you might have utilized, and then also an aggregator that vendor had. And so with having the aggregator built in-house, we're able to just kind of manage one aspect of EVV, which really helps us better serve you, in addition to having more transparency and accessibility of data to us at the Medicaid program. The other thing which is really important is many of you were already using other vendors than what we had chosen as a state to use, and we really wanted to maintain that continued focus to help you support you in your business decisions on what system you would like to use. Because we also know many of you are using systems that have an EVV component, but also may have other bells and whistles and services to meet your needs. A little bit about today's training. So this training is specific for provider agency representatives who are responsible for EVV oversight and management. And people who look at data to not only research maybe claims denials or things like that, but also to run reports and better understand what your EVV data looks like to help you assess your compliance and innovate and streamline your processes to make sure that you're able to get paid timely because your data is accurate. The aggregator, so we're gonna focus on those of you who have those responsibilities. I want to be clear that this training is not specific to the caregivers who are utilizing EVV to capture data for service delivery. It's really those provider agency representatives who are responsible for management and oversight of EVV. So as the agenda shows, we're gonna dive into basically how do you get access to the aggregator, and we're gonna focus on that today largely because that's kind of the new aspect of EVV for you who are with provider agencies. Granted, some of you may have changed vendors, so that's obviously new. But when it comes to interfacing with the aggregator, that is something that is new because it's unique to Access and the Access aggregator. So we're going to focus a lot. Nicole's going to go over the process of how do you actually get access to the aggregator. And then Jason and Brian will also cover a little bit about what does it look like when you get there and what kind of options you have, whether it's researching visits or pulling reports. And I do want to be very clear that we've worked very hard to make sure that when you go into the aggregator, that your how it functions and what information you have is very comparable to what you had previously. We wanted to help this transition be more seamless as possible and not try to change things up too much. So I think you'll be pleased when you see that overview. I also want to be clear that your vendors have a completely separate access to the aggregator, and basically they don't see what you see. What they do is they're able to their access to the aggregator is simply to provide and submit data, your service delivery data. So many of your vendors, and hopefully all of them very soon, if not yet, are starting to send data to the aggregator. So they have a different entry point into the aggregator. You have a very specific viewpoint, and it offers you an opportunity as well to see the data that is coming from your vendor, which is really important for you as you manage your compliance. Something I also want to highlight, as you'll see as we go through sort of the new part of the aggregator and accessing the aggregator, there's a lot of steps. Some of you may be in different phases of having access, have already met some of the steps already. But I want to encourage you, that's really important. And we're going to be posting all training materials and the recorded training, hopefully by the end of the week at the latest, where we're going to work really hard after the session to get that posted for you. But want to make sure that you walk through each step carefully. And then also, because while it'll take some time, it'll save probably frustration and time in the long run. So it's to your benefit to really walk through those steps and make sure your agency's set up to be able to access the aggregator. There's a couple of things as well I want to say that there's different help desks for different pieces of how you access the aggregator. We've got that all outlined for you, but I also want to reassure you that there's a team of people behind the scenes that if for some reason you contact the wrong help desk, we really do want you to try to be diligent and follow through when you're walking through sort of the checklist and guide of how to access the aggregator. We want you to avail yourselves of the help desk that's noted based upon whatever step you're at. But just be reassured that there's a team of people behind you that are working very hard. If for some reason you get to the wrong place, to make sure that they're coordinating a response to you and a resolution to your issue. Sometimes it may just be educating you about something, or there actually may be an issue that needs to be addressed. So just want to make sure and reassure you that you're understanding that there is sort of this team behind you working very hard to get you the support that you need. It might take a little bit for you to get access to the aggregator. Again, it kind of all depends on where your agency is in these various processes that we're going to outline for you. So this is kind of where that that request of patience is needed. And again, I will say that your access to the aggregator doesn't impact your vendor's ability to send your data to the aggregator. So I just want to make that very clear. A couple of housekeeping items. Again, we'll reiterate this multiple times. We're going to have a recording of the training. We're going to have additional manuals and tools for you. And as soon as we have those posted, we will be communicating that all to you. So it's very important that if you're somebody who's in this training and you're responsible for EVV at some level within your agency in administrative capacity, you should be signing up for our EVV communications. We've been communicating regularly over the past months and weeks. We're going to continue to do that. The other thing that's really important is the questions that you raise in today's session are likely going to become part of an FAQ document that we're putting together. So we'll send out communications about when that is posted. Or if there's anything that we need to alert you to quickly, we're going to utilize that method. And at the end of the PowerPoint that you'll see today, which we will also post online, will be a link to where you can go to directly add in your email address to receive those notifications. There might be some vendors on today's call, which appreciate that effort. We're going to really focus the questions today from the perspective of the provider agency. If for some reason we have additional time, we'll get into technical questions, but our goal today is really to support the providers. If there are technical questions, you can feel free to put them in the chat, or in the Q&A section on the webinar. And we can either possibly try to answer them during the webinar, or we'll take them back and add them to the FAQs. We're going to hold all questions to the end because we want to make sure we get through all the content, but we definitely are going to be intentional about leaving some time for Q&A. You will utilize the Q&A function in the platform itself to ask your questions. Some of us may be able to answer while the presentation is going on. If not, we will be selecting those at the end to raise at the end for all of our subject matter experts, and also to be able to answer those questions. Again, we'll be using those to help inform a FAQ as well that we'll be getting out to you. What would be helpful is if you have a question on a particular slide, if you could reference the content of that slide or the number of that slide in your question, that is definitely helpful for us to go back and pull up that particular slide if necessary. Again, just want to thank you for being present today or watching the recording. We are here to support you. There are some things that we will learn as you raise questions. But we're working very hard to get you the information that you need to support you. And with that, I will turn it over to you, Brian, for our next presenter.
Awesome, Dara. Thank you so much for that excellent overview. Up on our screen, we have our provider user guide manual, and I'm going to turn this over to Nicole to walk through this presentation.
Alrighty, Brian, Dara, thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nicole Cohn, and I'm excited to have you here today. I welcome you to the electronic visit verification. I'm going to be stating this as the EVV throughout this presentation and ServiceNow registration presentation. This is going to be a high-level overview of the registration process. You'll notice as I make my way through these slides that there's going to be manuals, websites, and help desk information that are linked. As Dara stated earlier, everyone will have access to this presentation and the helpful resources within it to make this process as easy as possible for you. With that being said, we can go ahead and get started. Slide 2, please. Here's a brief overview of what we will be going through in this slide. And again, if you have any questions, please refer to the slide number. And I will, as I'm going through the presentation, I'll say the slide number before we go on to it. You can also just reference the title here and then make that comment in the Q&A section for our team to answer. So we'll be going through the Access Online Account Setup, EVV Contact, ServiceNow Registration, and then requesting access to the EVV aggregator and where your team needs to go to locate the help desk and the portal presentation itself. Slide 3, please. Okay. Getting connected and where do you stand? Step 1A and step 1B, they pretty much go hand in hand. So everyone needs access to their online account and to be set up in the confirmation portal. Most providers on this call will be finished this process prior to registering for ServiceNow or EVV. Once those steps are complete, you will move to your ServiceNow registration. Then you will move on to requesting access to the EVV aggregator. If you are a new provider, you're going to follow steps 1 through 3. And then step 4 pertains to providers who are already set up in ServiceNow, but still need access to the EVV aggregator. Again, depending what you have already completed for registration, that will determine which step you start at. Under each step here, you will see the appropriate help desk and a manual or website that will assist users in understanding each of the applications or portals. You will hear me say this again, but it is very, very important that you state the exact application or the portal that you need assistance with when working with the help desk. We want to make sure that we get all of your issues resolved in a timely manner. So making sure that you express what application or portal you need assistance with will help that process move along. Slide 4. Step 1A, Access Online Account Setup. Providers and their representatives will not be able to access the EVV without an Access Online account and email address. These accounts are created by the user. They are not created by Access. If you do not have an account, you can click the link right here that says register and register for a new account. That's the third bullet here. If you were unsure if you have an account, please reach out to the help desk listed. If you need more information on what Access Online is, you'll select the 4th bullet, hyperlink that says AHCCCS, so Arizona Access Online, and that will bring you to the Access Online Learn More website. Please make sure that you have access to your Access Online email address prior to registering for ServiceNow. And I will be saying Access, ACCESS, and Access a lot through this presentation, so please bear with me. Slide 5. Okay, so you have access to your online account. So step 1B is the EVV contact and the service confirmation portal. All providers must have an EVV contact. This person must not only be employed with your agency, but also be the person who is responsible for reviewing the EVV visit data. As we know, EVV data contains PHI, therefore your contact may not be a group inbox, may not be a person who does not work for your agency, and may not be someone who works for your EVV vendor. So again, your contact must be employed with your agency. For assistance with your EVV contact through the service confirmation portal, you can reach out to service desk at azaccess.gov. If you need more information on what the service confirmation portal is or how to add a EVV contact, you can select the add an EVV contact hyperlink in that first bullet right there. And you will be directed right to the manual that will show you how to do that. Slide 6, please. Alrighty, so now we're going to move on to registering for ServiceNow and EVV. So it's important to understand, and I did say this earlier, that you should use your Access Online email address. Do not use a personal or group email. You will use this email address to log into ServiceNow, to log into the EVV aggregator, and during the registration process, to verify your association with the provider. So for ServiceNow, please use your Access Online email address associated with your organization. Slide 7. Alrighty, so you have access to your Access Online email address. You're ready to register for ServiceNow. Users will go to the ServiceNow link in step 1. You'll select sign up now. You'll put your email address in, and of course, we have to make sure that you're not a robot. So you will enter the characteristics you see, and then select send verification code. Once you verify your email with that verification code, you will be able to fill in the rest of the fields below the blue send a verification field. So until you do that, you will not be able to enter any of those fields. It's not broken. You just have to verify your identity first. So then you'll be able to verify the fields new password, confirm new password, your first and last name, and then select create your account. This is super simple. Your ServiceNow registration is now complete. Slide 8, please. Alrighty, now it's time to register for EVV. Once you're logged into ServiceNow, you will go through the EVV registration process. These next few steps are for providers who have just registered for ServiceNow for the first time. If you have already registered for ServiceNow, we will go through those steps to register for EVV on slide 13. So bear with me here. Okay, so if you sign up for ServiceNow and it's time to get access to EVV, you'll go to My Access on the top right of the ServiceNow website, and then select Provider Services under the Access request. That's step 2 right here. Once you select Provider Services, you'll be given different options to register for the EVV based on the user, which we will go through in the next few slides. Slide 9. Okay, so first I'm going to give you the definition of a sole proprietor. So this is somebody who owns and operates a business. So for this form, providers who are registering but are not the sole proprietor, which is going to be most providers. Again, most providers are going to fall under this form. So you will select that you are the rendering service provider, but you are not the sole proprietor. You do not own or operate the business that you're working under. The user will complete all the required fields and select yes to do you need access to the EVV. Once the user selects yes to needing EVV access, another 2 fields or 2 boxes will populate to verify your Access Online email address. And I'll be showing that after the next slide. Slide 10, please. Okay, so this form is for I am the rendering service provider and I also own the business and operate the business. So here is the other form. It's tied to, again, as I said, I am the rendering service provider, but you will choose yes to are you the sole proprietor. You will fill in all the required fields, and then the other 2 fields that I will show on the next slide will populate so you can verify your Access Online email address. Slide 11, please. This is the section that will populate once all of your required fields are filled in and you select yes to needing that online, that EVV access. So you will enter your Access Online email address and then will receive a verification code to confirm and then submit your form for EVV access. So the next slide, slide 12, This is the last form that a user can choose. A large portion of registered users are going to fall underneath this category. If you are not the referring servicing provider, then you will likely be representing the provider. Once you select, I represent the provider, you will fill in all of the required fields. And just like the other two, you always have to verify your Access Online email address and then submit the form. Next slide, please. Okay, so this slide is for users who already have access to ServiceNow, but you still need access to EVV. So very simple, you log in, select My Access, it won't say Provider Services, it will say EVV Providers. You'll fill in all of the required fields. Again, you need your Access Online email address. You have to have access to it, or else you cannot verify the verification code that they send to you. Alrighty, so now that everyone has access to ServiceNow and or the EVV by submitting their forms, we need to make sure that you in fact do see the correct tabs for the EVV there in the purple banner. Slide 14, please. I cannot stress this enough. It is very, very, very important that all users sign out and sign back in so that you are able to see that provider delegates and EVV tab populate. So if you do not, if you sign up for ServiceNow and you are logged into the system and you do not see that, you have to, maybe you even need to clear your cache. You have to log out and log back in. Prior to putting a help desk ticket, please make sure that you do that. Excuse me. So we will talk about this in the next few slides a little bit more, but only master delegates will have access to that EVV tab when they log back in. So delegate account holders you'll be able to see it. Everyone should see provider delegates and EVV tab, but you will not be able to see the data within the tab until your master account holder approves your account. So don't think that it's broken. You just need to wait for your account to be approved. Slide 15. Alrighty, so these next two slides, these are for the master account holders. We can move on to slide 16. The master account holders have control of who can access the EVV. So if I'm a delegate and I sign up, then the master account holder will receive this email that you see right here. They're given two options as a master account holder. You can approve or deny my access as a delegate through the portal, or, which we'll go through on the next page, or grant access through this email. Very simply, you just respond back with grant access. Once a master account holder does that, as a delegate, I can go ahead and go in there and make sure that the EVV tab now populates with data. Slide 17, please. Once you select the Provider Delegates tab in that purple banner, it's right next to the EVV tab. This is what you're going to see, again, as a master account holder. The provider ID, account holders, and the permission status. As a master account holder, you'll have access to approve and deny here underneath the permission status. If you choose not to reply to grant access to the email that was sent to you, or you can also, maybe you have a bunch of emails and you think that maybe you missed something, go ahead and log into the portal here and you'll be able to see every single delegate that's awaiting your decision or who has already been approved or denied. Moving on to delegate account holders. Thank you. Delegate account holders do not have access to EVV when they log back in. They must wait for access to be granted by the master account holder. The user will see, the user will receive an email once the account is denied or approved, and it's right here of what it looks like. Delegate account holders will be able to see both the provider delegate and EVV tab in the purple banner, but will only have access to the provider delegate tab to check on your status. And we will go over that in slide 20. Under the Provider Delegates tab, as a delegate account holder, you will see the same options as the master account holder, but you will only see your specific status of awaiting decision, denied, or approved. If the user needs access to EVV and they have not been approved, please reach out to your master account holder, and then you can ask them for an update on your status, or you can ask them to approve your status. Alrighty, the last and final slide. As we were going through each slide, you can see that the help desk links pertaining to the slide were hyperlinked. But here's another overview of what help desk can help you with each application or portal. We also encourage all providers and their representatives to click this blue click here to opt in for EVV updates. It's very, very important to stay updated on all the changes that are going to be occurring in the EVV. With that being said, I appreciate everyone who has joined today. We understand that this may not be a fun process, but we are committed to making this as smooth as possible for you. And we are here for any questions that you may have. Brian, I'm going to go ahead and hand this over to you. Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks, Nicole. Appreciate you walking through that provider user guide presentation. Also in the user guide presentation, you will see a link to our provider user manual. Due to time, we're not going to be able to go through this in as much detail as Nicole went through in the last presentation, but like I said, this will also be linked on the website and also in this presentation. The purpose of this, the provider user manual, is designed to help providers understand and navigate the Access EVV aggregator. This manual provides a step-by-step instruction for obtaining EVV access, how to use the interface, and review visit data in the EVV aggregator, and accessing various aggregator reports. It also includes descriptions of the EVV screens and explanations of the purpose of each report. Just to give you all a heads up, when you look at this, you'll see in the table of contents, we have ServiceNow portal registration. We also have visit review screens where you'll be able to see what those look like. And then also a list of aggregator reports that we're in the process of being developed right now. These are not available to you yet, but they will be very soon, and we'll send out notifications once those are available. We also have some information on the help desk ticketing system in this manual as well. With that being said, I'm going to turn this over to Jason, our testing lead, who's going to show you a presentation or a demo of what the user interface looks like.
Thank you, Brian. Okay, let me know when you can see my screen there. I think it's there. So a couple of caveats. First of all, I am in our test environment, and I am logged in as an Access user. So with that, I'll be able to see all of the provider Medicaid IDs. It is important to note that you as a provider will only be able to see the provider Medicaid IDs that you're able to see. So for this demo, we're assuming that you've gone through all of your registration process. You have all the accounts set up as the master account holder or the delegate, and you are now logged into the EVV system. So once you get logged in, you'll come to the visit review screen. We did try to do the design most similar to what you're used to. So hopefully this will have kind of the same look and feel as the previous system. So when you come to the visit review screen, you'll have your provider Medicaid ID drop down. Again, you'll only be able to see those provider IDs that you have access to. You can search by client name, client Medicaid ID, employee name, employee social, the date range of the visit status, which we have scheduled and processed, incomplete, verified, processed, and omit. You can also filter by exceptions, all visits, all exceptions, or exception types. If you do choose exception types, you'll get an additional drop down and you can select your exception type. In addition to that, we also have some advanced filtering options where you can choose the payer, the service, the call type, manual or mobile. You can also enter the visit key for searching and the group visit code. So I'm going to be using a fictitious account here to just search for this one client. It is important to note that for the search criteria to work, you are required to enter a date range and either the provider Medicaid ID, the client Medicaid ID, the employee name, or the Social Security number of the employee. So one of those pieces of information, and I just got logged out. So we'll start over again on that search. So one of those pieces of information along with your date search criteria in order for the search to work. So I'm going to search for this record. And as you see, I've got 4 different visits that pull up. You can see all of the fields, the client name, service, visit date, their schedule time in and out, as well as their call in and out and their hours, adjusted in and out, their bill hours, their status, whether this is omit for do not bill, and the units. If I need to see additional fields with this search, I can click on Show Display Options and add or remove any columns as necessary. So as an example, if I want to add the visit key, I can click that, close out that display options, and now I have the visit key displayed for my reference. Now to view these, this particular visit, if I want to look at the visit details, just simply double click on any of these rows to get those details. I want to double click on the first one. It will open a separate tab. As you can see at the top, you have the visit key, the visit start date, the client's name, and the employee's name, as well as their ID. General tab will house all of the information, the scheduled time in and out, the adjusted time in and out, the agency information, the payer, all of this you should be pretty familiar with. Going on down to the client tab, you'll get the client information as well as the emergency contact if that has been provided. Employee call log will show the call in and out times as well as the latitude and longitude. We are in a test environment, so some of these fields are blank, but you will see those when you actually log into the production system. If there are any tasks, you'll see them on the task tab. The exceptions will show any exceptions for that visit. Memo is pretty self-explanatory. If there are any claims, they'll show on the claims tab. And finally, the history of any changes. I'm going to close out on that. So now I'm going to show you how to access the reports. As I said, I am logged in as an Access user. So right now I'm able to see Aggregator reports as well as BI reports. As providers, you'll only see the Aggregator reports tab. It is important to note that on your first time in, you may not see the Aggregator reports listed. We are still validating some of those reports, getting those validated as quickly as possible, and we'll be releasing those as they become available. We'll send out notification once that actually starts. If you click on the Aggregators Reports tab, once those are available, you'll see the list of reports that are available for you to access. Clicking on any of these reports will pull up the associated data, and you'll be able to filter and search by those within that specific report. All right, that's the end of my demo. I'll pass it back over to Brian.
Thanks, Jason. Just back over to our agenda. All right, that completes the user interface and reporting demo. And now we're going to turn this over to Danny to open this up to a Q&A session.
Dara, I know you've been going in and answering some questions. Is there anything you want to start out with before I dive into the questions?
No, go ahead. I think you can probably skip those that I've made a comment on and focus on those that we haven't already responded to.
Okay. We do have a lot of questions about tickets and issues you're receiving as far as the email not matching or the provider ID and the last four of your social security number do not match. Dara or Brian, do you want to speak to those issues?
Yep, I can take that one. It is an issue that we have identified internally. We're currently working on a process to figure or to complete this or fix this issue, and we will have communications going out to all of those tickets, hopefully by the end of day. But we are aware of that, and it is something that we're working to address right now.
Thank you.
Yep.
Our next question is, have any visits submitted to the system? Have any visits been submitted to the system properly at this time?
Yes. I don't have exact numbers right now, but we've had in the last few days already over, I believe it's over 60,000 accepted visits.
And we have about, Brian, we have about 15 vendors that are sending successfully right now. And it looks like vendors are kind of sending smaller chunks of data first just to make sure things are working. And then I would expect to see more occurring. We also are working on some performance issues on the back end. So there might be some delays in the responses coming back to the vendors. But that is something is a high priority at this point too. And I don't know if anybody else has an update on that. But so if you're getting a slower response, if your vendors are getting a slower response than what they did previously, we're aware of it. It's intentional because we're trying to actually increase that time moving forward. So their vendors may experience some delay there.
And I'll add to that too. I completely agree with you, Dara. We're having some data that is still being migrated over, and it's just putting a little bit of an extra load on the system, and we're hoping that that's complete by the end of this week.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right. Our next issue, Dara, you may want to speak to. I understand the patience in the process, but this is putting billing behind for all of us. We're worried about non-payment because we cannot view what is sent to the state. There's lots of back and forth on our end to resubmit claims and fight for payment.
Yep. So I did respond to that comment, but I think appreciate Danielle being able to address it with the broader audience. Yes. It's easy for me to say, kind of pack your patience, so to speak, and understand that. Trust me when I say that we are very focused on your ability to bill. I think the biggest thing that you can do to mitigate delays is in your EVV vendor system, as quickly as possible, make sure you're getting your visits, all the information that's required for the visits into your EVV system. So depending upon, if there's an adjustment like to the call in or the call out or whatever that is, make sure that those are addressed quickly so that when your vendors send us the data, they can get that they'll get in that verified status and there doesn't have to be this back and forth. So that's the biggest thing you can do on the provider side while we work on performance around responding and also making sure that you're seeing things in the aggregator. So we're aware of that. Don't mean to be dismissive of that, but trust me when I say our main priority is that you get paid and as quickly as possible. So that's what you can do, is to make sure those visits have all the information they need to have.
Thank you, Dara. And I apologize. There are a ton of questions coming in. So
No, that's fine. It's a good one. It's a good one to share with everybody. No worries.
Another question that came through: what type of online access do we need as a third-party billing company that handles multiple providers?
So my understanding would be, this is Dara, I think that if those providers that you bill for are agencies and organizations, those individuals need to have their own access to the aggregator to see their data. But that's also something we can take back and explore from just to make sure from a group biller perspective, there isn't some other consideration that we need to make. So that's a good question for us to take back and get in an updated FAQ.
You. Our next question I can actually answer. Someone asked if we imported the EVV contacts. The EVV contact process is actually our process. That's our internal data. So we do have your EVV contacts. We are going to continue that process as it helps us identify who is truly an EVV provider. But yes, we do have the EVV contacts. There is a request to show and walk through the first slide again.
One second, and I'll pull that back up.
And Brian, while you're doing that, we have such a high volume of folks on the call today, or in the meeting, I should say. So if you have a question, please make sure to use the Q&A option to ask your question. We're going to do our best to get through as many of them as we can with the time that we have left, which is about 40 minutes. And then please avail yourselves of the help desk information when we post this PowerPoint and the manuals or updates to the manuals. Please avail yourselves of the help desk information, this document, to submit your questions, as well as, again, we'll be working on an FAQ document and communicate that all out to you once those are available and posted.
I'm assuming this is the first slide that people are referring to. I don't think it'd be the table of contents. This slide goes over the 4-step process for creating an account from being a brand new provider, starting with step 1A and 1B, all the way through ServiceNow registration, and then ultimately requesting access to the EVV aggregator, access to ServiceNow and EVV aggregator, and then also the help desk. You'll notice under each of these steps, if you get stuck or hung up on any of these, we have a link to the specific help desk that will assist you in that process. At the bottom, we also have the EVV 2.0 FAQs that we have been updating regularly to help with understanding common questions that we've seen and answers that we have available.
Thank you. We have a couple of questions around the same kind of topic, where people are asking, is the company access ID the same access ID they should use for trying to gain access as a delegate, I believe? Do we have anyone on the phone that can answer that?
Monacy, do you have an answer to that question?
Sorry, Brian, I don't know about that.
Okay, that's one we'll have to take back and put in the FAQ, I think.
Okay, I'll take that one back. Thank you.
We do have question. Oh, where did it go? How many agency employees can have access to the aggregator?
I don't think there's, I mean, we can confirm with our Access Online SMEs, but I don't think there's a limit to, obviously there's one master account holder and then there can be multiple delegates. So I don't think there are limits to how many people can access the aggregator, but I would say that this is protected health information. And that's why there's all these security protocols as to how people get access to it. So I would, just like you would be cautionary about giving people access to your other types of member data, you would want to limit it to those who need it for the purposes of their job and their role and function.
Thank you. This question is regards to the aggregator functionality. Why can't we just search all members at once instead of having to go one by one in the visit review section?
Danielle, can you ask that again?
The provider would like to know why they can't search all members at once in the visit review section in the aggregator.
Maybe I'll let Jason elaborate on that a little bit more, but I'm not sure that you can. I think you can search by a date range, and then you do have to put in the specific details to the individual you're looking up. Jason, there is not a way to search for all people that are assigned to a specific person, are there?
No, not at this time. And I think it's really more of a performance issue because of the volume of data that we have in the system. So entering just a date range, for example, is going to be pulling back tons of data. So you'll see major lag in the system if that were to be implemented. But that is something we can definitely take down and discuss, potentially down the road.
Thank you. There is a question, and again, I'm not sure if we have anyone who can answer it, but is it possible to add more than one company to your account, or does each company have to have a separate login?
I believe right now it is one company has to have a separate login. But if there's anyone else on the account or on the call that can confirm, I can take that back and confirm as well.
That's true, Brian. There is no group access as of right now.
Thanks, Nicole.
There are some additional questions about how can providers find out who their master account holder is? Okay, sounds like that's one for the FAQ also.
Do we not have anybody from Access who can speak to that from the Access Online SMEs? I mean, we can certainly add it to an FAQ, but is there not anybody who can speak to that?
Looks like we have a hand up.
Yeah, Chris can answer it.
Yeah, so from Access Online aspect, you just calling in on the support desk, they should be able to tell you who your master account holder is. And then if there's any issues, like if that person's no longer there or anything like that, they can walk you through the process to get a master account set up.
Thank you. We have a question. Are past visits populating prior to the switch to the new aggregator so we can see our EVV history?
The EVV history will be available and it is currently being migrated over. There is some bit of information in the user interface. The history tab is currently the last piece that is being populated right now. So there is a slight delay on that piece of information, but yes, you will be able to see your history. We brought over all records from, I believe it went all the way back to I can't remember the date, but it should be everything back past 2019.
Thank you. Sorry, just going through questions. Please bear with me.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of questions about the history of the data. So, Brian, can we readdress that again? So I've answered multiple questions now about it. One thing that's clear is that either folks are receiving the communication and not reviewing them in their entirety, which I know we get a lot of emails, but when emails come through on EVV information, we are trying to be very targeted of giving you up-to-date information. So it's really critical that you review that information. We sent out multiple communications and an FAQ regarding the historical data and everything being available in the aggregator. We also sent out a communication the other day with information Brian just provided around we're getting some of the final details of the changes to the visits in the aggregator under that history tab. But when you search, you'll be able to search for historical visits. So our communications are going out regularly with updated information. So we'll go ahead and please make sure you're going to the EVV website and signing up for the communications so you can be the first to know anytime we provide an update.
And maybe just to add to that, to make it a little bit easier, let's add a link to that sign up in this chat so people don't have to wait for our communication to come out if they haven't already received that.
So I don't think the everyone can see the chat, but I did pin
gotcha.
to the top of the Q&A the website address where the recording will be. You can also go to that same website under Stay Informed and click the link to sign up for our email list.
Thanks, Danny.
We have someone asking if there is still a well sky. Dara, do you want to take that one?
Sure. So I'll kind of just give a brief overview of all providers are required to have their own contract with an EVV vendor. And then that vendor, has specific specifications on how to send that data from the EVV system that you're using to the Access aggregator. So if you can have any relationship with any vendor, that vendor just has to test with us, and you have to and as long as they can send data to us, they can send it on your behalf, or they can send data successfully, they can send it on your behalf. But you have to have a relationship with an EVV vendor. If you're on this call today and you are not currently utilizing EVV to capture data, you need to find a vendor very quickly. We do have a list of vendors on our website that we're continuing to update of so Danielle, help me, remind me, is the current list on the website the list of vendors who were sending it previously to SanData?
Yes.
Okay. So there's a list of vendors on our website who were previously sending data to SanData. And then as we transition, we will modify that list to include those vendors who were sending data to us. So theoretically, those are vendors operating in Arizona. We do not endorse any vendor. all we do is that list of vendors. All we're doing and providing that list of vendors to say, yes, they have successfully sent visit data before. So it's incumbent upon the provider to find a vendor of their choice and ensure that vendor can support their compliance with EVV. We have a couple of tools on our website that we have to assist you in that process, but it is incumbent upon the provider to make that business decision.
Thank you. And I think this goes along the same lines, but we do have questions about being given lenience to the 14 days to verify rule because of the transition. And just to kind of reiterate what Dara said, you should be using your own EVV system where you can still record EVV visit data. Members can still verify their visit data. And then that just gets sent to our aggregator. There is a question, what if the adjusted time in and adjusted time out is not reflected accurately in the Access aggregator? Should we reach out to Access or our own vendor?
You should be reaching out to your vendor. The data that's in the aggregator is simply reflective of the data that the vendor has sent to us. So that's also a very, very good reason why you should be looking in the aggregator. It helps you understand what your vendor is sending, how often they're sending data. There's also reports that you can run in there. So if you see something that doesn't look right, you need to go back to your vendor.
Thank you. Our next question, will providers be able to see live-in caregiver information through ServiceNow?
So the live-in caregiver data, currently we are accepting the data. We have to do a little bit more work to allow it to be reflective in the reporting. So as the reporting gets completed, we do have some reports that are dedicated to providing, to showing you the live-in caregiver relationships that you all have put into your vendor system. So your vendors have specific instructions on what data needs to be captured in your EVV system. And that data is sent to us and is kind of continue to finish up these reports. And we'll make sure we communicate that out to you, but there are some reports. So you won't see it necessarily when you research a specific visit, but you will be able to see it in a report that you will have available to you.
Thank you. We have a question about modifiers. Won't the claim be rejected if modifiers are removed in EVV, but they bill with the modifiers?
So the best way to answer this is I'll kind of walk through how the claims validation process works. So your vendor sends data to the aggregator. And then, and that data can include modifiers, and we have specific modifiers in the specifications for your vendors on if those apply, you should send those. But it's more of an informational source for us than anything. It's also not exhaustive of all the modifiers that may be included in on a particular claim. When you submit a claim, you should submit any and all modifiers that are either directed by the health plan or that your medical coding and billing folks deem appropriate. When the health plan, so that includes DDD and health plans like United and Mercy Care and Banner and the whole slew of health plans that we have, when they get a claim from you, they then contact the aggregator and they ask the aggregator in a technical way whether or not there's visit documentation that supports the claim. During that process, we do not look at modifiers. We only look at the procedure code only. So you may have claims with modifiers. So basically the claims on your modifiers may be over and above what's even provided, or the modifiers on your claims, the modifiers on your claims may be over and above what's sent by your EVV vendor, which is okay, because during the claims validation process for EVV, we do not look at modifiers. And I believe this is addressed in one of our billing FAQs on the website.
Thank you, Dara. We just got this question. I know you spoke to this before, but since we're still getting the question, I want to make sure we speak to it again. In SANdata, we were able to do manual entry before. Are we able to do it in the new system?
You don't enter any visit data into the aggregator. Your vendor should have an option to add a manual visit. Because sometimes that is necessary to occur if there are devices that don't work or something, they get lost or what have you. That also generally, for those limited circumstances where a paper timesheet is allowable, but paper timesheets are only allowable under specific circumstances, and they're also only allowable to be used along with a device that can independently verify the start and end time of the visit, which generally is like a fob kind of device, which you press it gives you a time and date stamp. Those visits generally are entered in a manual way into EVV systems, but all systems are different. I don't know everybody's EVV system, but your vendor should have a way for you to submit a manual visit, but that would not be entered into the aggregator directly. It would come through the data that your vendor sends to the aggregator.
Thank you, Dara. I can take this one. Someone is asking, when a person logs into the aggregator account, does it just show what the EVV vendor is sending to Access? That is correct. The aggregator is just showing you what your EVV vendor has sent to us. Let's see. HTS or Dara, are there any questions you see that you want to answer? I'm just trying to go through and see where we're at.
Looking through, excuse me.
Oh, I'm seeing a couple for compliance thresholds. They're essentially asking if Arizona has a minimum threshold for a passing EVV visit, or if we have a rollout date for formal EVV compliance enforcement, as other states have done.
Currently, we do not have any established performance measures or thresholds. If you have been around a while, you may be familiar with some efforts that we have utilized, like differential adjusted payments, and awarded people those incentives based on meeting certain performance metrics. I will say that that is something we would like to establish over the next year. And looking at different circumstances, particularly around auto verified and manually verified visits, because that is a key performance indicator for the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, which is our regulator and which oversees us with EVV, and we have to provide regular reporting for EVV. So that is something we will be discussing over the next year. We also plan to, Danielle and I plan to host webinars throughout the next year once we get through the transition and make sure everybody's taken care of and everybody's onboarded, to start having different conversations about EVV policy. And those likely will be something that we will address in the future.
Thank you, Dara. We're getting a couple questions about how to get EVV visits that were previously entered in the SANDATA system into a payable status into the new aggregator. Do you want to take that?
So as we mentioned, all the historical data will be available in the aggregator. We're just working on the final touches of that this week. So you do need to see if there was anything that was not verified prior to September 30th. Depending upon if you're using the same vendor that you used before September 30th and after 10/1, then you just simply work with your vendor to update that visit information and make sure everything's correct. And then they can send that updated visit to us. If you used a different vendor on before 9/30 and switched to a new one after 10/1, and you see those visits as not being verified in the aggregator, you likely will need to do some kind of manual entry of that visit into your new EVV system. So I believe we also have some direction on this in the FAQ, the EVV 2.0 FAQ document that's available on the website.
We have a question about an ETA for how long it will take for the historical data migration to be completed.
We're anticipating being complete with that by the end of this week.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm just still going through these. I'm seeing some that are more specific to just our EVV program and not the aggregator. We do have a couple of questions about, and Nicole, I know you spoke to this already, but maybe you can speak to it again. What is the difference between a rendering servicing provider and I represent the provider?
Absolutely. Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. So I, Nicole Cohn, own this business, this organization. I am the sole proprietor. I'm going to hit yes. So if I, Nicole, work under a provider, so this is for providers logging in. If I'm a provider, I do not own the business. I just work under another provider, then I will hit no because I do not own the business. Most people, though, are going to be representatives. So you will say, I represent the provider. So this is like a biller, a manager, front desk, whomever is going to take control of that EVV system. Hopefully that helps.
Thank you. There's a couple questions about any payer exceptions for the delay and the time frame of the transition to the new aggregator. Not quite sure I understand that question, but Dara, does that, are you able to
Can you-
speak to?
I'm sorry, can you state the question again? I didn't catch all of it.
Is payer going to allow us, with the exception for any glitches that has occurred in the time frame of this transition?
We have to have accurate, verified EVV data for a visit before a claim can be paid. So that is why we're working very hard to address any issues your vendors are having sending the data. So there is no option for us to, pay a claim that doesn't have verified EVV data. So that is why I said earlier, the part that providers can play is to make sure you're reviewing all your visit data and making sure that it has all the components it needs to have to be billable and to be in a verified state so that when the claims validation requests come through by the health plan for the claims you submit, they're able to validate those.
Thank you. It looks like we're getting a lot of questions reposted, and I understand you want answers, but some of these we do have to get technical experts to answer, so we will be adding them to an FAQ. Reposting them is unfortunately not helping, but you can upvote or like questions, and that will help me prioritize the ones that needs to go into the FAQ. Oh, and we are coming up on time. Dara, are there any closing remarks you want to make?
Just want to again thank you. Thank you for your questions. We will we'll comb through all of them and make sure that we have an FAQ to address them. Appreciate you all and your time, but also always want to take an opportunity when we get in front of an audience of providers to thank you for the work that you do every day to serve our members and particularly to serve them in their own homes and in the communities, which is largely the work that you all do. So thank you for that. We know these transitions are not easy. They're different. But the great thing about us building the aggregator in-house is that we won't have to make a transition like this again in the future. We may have updates to data we want to make. We may have potentially, down the road, new service codes to add to require EVV, but by and large, this kind of transition won't have to happen again because we've brought it in-house. So we're very grateful to the Access leadership for being innovative, and we're grateful for you all. And we are working very hard to mitigate any time delay and disruption. So thank you for your time today.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.